Last question. Rand Paul or Hillary Clinton? Whose foreign policy are you more comfortable with?
Well, I don't think either one of them is going to be president.
Okay, but you didn't answer the question. Whose foreign policy would you be more comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with my own views, and I've been very forthright about them, and frankly, I don't support either Hillary Clinton or Rand Paul.
Whether he decides to run for president or stay at home in Kentucky, Senator Rand Paul has a lot on his plate as we prepare to turn the corner into 2015. A new Congress getting to work, Republicans reportedly sniping at each other, some people swearing they will leave the GOP behind for what they consider a budget betrayal, and then there's this matter of stopping the president's immigration edict. It's a pleasure to welcome back to MidPoint United States Republican Senator from Kentucky, Rand Paul. Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Senator, your bill is called Preventing Executive Overreach on Immigration Act. How do you, and let me put it this way, what do you hope to accomplish knowing that full well it's very likely the president would eventually veto this anyway?
Well, you know, this passed in the House. This was Ted Yoho's bill, the congressman from Florida. And so when it passed in the House, we said, you know, this is really what we should do. We understand the realities. It would be difficult to get Democrats to support it, and it would be difficult to get the president to sign it. But I think by showing the will of Congress, or at least the majority of Congress, thinks that what he is doing is illegal, I think it bolsters the court case. Back in the 1950s, the Supreme Court rebuked, or now actually back before that, they rebuked Harry Truman back in the late 40s, early 50s, for an executive order that tried to nationalize the steel industry. And part of the Supreme Court's reasoning was that you can write executive orders that further what Congress wants you to do, but you cannot write an executive order that goes against
Get them on your side when they seem to be, at least what some people would say, so against you and what you're doing?
Well, I think it's a little complicated. I met recently with the chairman of the Republican Party from Texas, and he told me that Republican Party actually in every statewide office won the Hispanic vote this time around. It was very close, but they actually won the Hispanic vote. So I don't think it's as clear-cut as some on the other side would make it out to be. I'm also one who actually is for some form of immigration reform, but the main stumbling block for me is in order to do any of the reforms, you have to secure the border first. If you actually have a secure border, I'm one who says, you know what, I wouldn't mind finding work permits for some of those who are here. I just can't offer that to everyone in the world just to come, though, and it can't be an open borders process. You have to have a secure border, but then I am someone who would actually favor some kind of immigration reform if we could have a secure border first.
How do you then come off as not being seen by some people as evil and anti-Hispanic?
Well, I think this is a constitutional issue, and I actually treat this as completely separate from immigration. I don't know if it'll be perceived that way, but this is whether the president can be a legislator. And our founding fathers were very explicit. They wanted a separation of powers. They wanted co-equal branches. But the president was to execute the will and the law of Congress. He wasn't to write the law. So I'm upset not only about this issue, but about the president doing the same thing, usurping authority over health care law. He amended Obamacare many times without the authority of Congress, and that's actually going to be heard again before the Supreme Court, one of his illegal amending process of Obamacare. And then there's also the war. I think that our founders were very clear that war was to be initiated or declared by Congress, not by the president. So I think in a multitude of areas the president has usurped his authority, and it isn't so much just about immigration. I think another way to overcome this is I predict that the Republican Congress will pass some form of immigration reform. We'll secure the border, and I think we will expand some of the ability of people to get work permits in our country. So I think you may well see that come 2016, many people who want immigration reform, particularly Silicon Valley, who wants these workers who have masters and PhDs in math and science and computer science, when we expand the work visas, the H-1Bs for these folks, I think the people in Silicon Valley will finally say, you know what, we've wanted this forever. The Democrats could never produce, but Republicans actually did. So actually, I think the issue will shift back towards us when we show that we will pass a sane form of immigration reform.
I think you've just said the key words here that everybody is looking for, the sane form of immigration reform. We will wait and see what happens as we hit 2015. Senator Rand Paul, we're all out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. A very Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Same to you, Ed. Thank you.
Take care. Well, the cruise missile, the Ted Cruz missile, has struck deep into the heart of the Republican Party, and it could wind up damaging more than the man who seeks no favor from his peers and believes he's doing exactly what voters have charged him to do. And at 43 minutes after the hour, blockbuster findings on the reality of non-invasive prenatal screening tests.